Yeah, good boy. Good boy. If your dog ignores your recall, it's not stubbornness on their part, it just means that you haven't trained them properly. But don't worry, in this video, I'm going to talk about exactly what you need to do to be able to achieve perfect recall with your dog. Yeah, good boy. Now you have to remember that when it comes to having perfect recall, there's a really important point that makes recall work or not. And that is something that I refer to as my competing motivators or scales of motivation. If your dog understands what you mean by recall, so that's been taught, and we're out in the real world with your dog off lead like this, and you ask them to come back to you, that has one side of the scale, and that's as motivating as it is. On the other side of the scale is literally everything else that young Reginald could be doing, like diving into the lake, like chasing all the geese, like running around trying to find sheep. They are also motivating. And to the dog, whether they listen to you or not, just depends on what side that scale of motivation tips. So your job is to be able to tip the scale of motivation in your favor as high as possible and decrease the scale of motivation for everything else as much as possible. Achieve that and you win the game of recall. But how do we go about achieving that? Well, that's exactly what we're going to start looking at now in this video. Oh, good boy. So a massive tip to have much better recall with your dog is something that I like to call the you equal awesome to your dog. Now, it's shocking how many clients and people I've worked with recall or not having any recall being a huge problem for them. And they've never built these kinds of foundations. And what you need to have with your dog before you even really start to think about teaching recall is that coming to you, being with you, is an awesome thing. So before I start any formal recall training with adult dogs, this is Reggie. He's here with me at my sanctuary for a month. He's been stuck in rescue centres for years. People don't want to adopt him, so we're going to turn him into the perfect canine companion and find him his forever home. But what we do is we start this process of we're out for a toilet break, just letting him have a stretch down in my training paddock. And anytime he makes the decision to come to me, and you'll notice that as I'm moving around, I'm not asking him. There's no kind of recall command, there's no whistle being used, and I'm just floating around, and every time he makes the decision to come into my personal space, something good is going to happen to him. Again, I've not asked for this, but because we've been playing this game every day since he came in, every time we come for a toilet run and just to let him stretch his legs, if you come to me, you're gonna get a treat or this. You're gonna get some fuss, you're gonna get a belly rub, you're gonna get a scratch behind the ears. And we rep this out over and over and over again, and you'll see that he wants to go, oh, we missed mate, he dropped it. That he was gonna walk off over there somewhere, and he went, no, actually, it's better with him. And he came back to me. And what I'm doing is I'm building up the scale of motivation in my favor. Of he just has rep after rep after rep. Of every time I go to that weird bearded tattoo guy over there, something good happens. He's a vibe. I like being with him. I like being near him. I like going and checking in with him. I build that as the foundation of our relationship of when you come to me, something good's gonna happen, and you'll be surprised at how much your dog then wants to come to you. That's amazing for the foundation of recall, but it then allows us to play all of the other games that we play when it comes to recall. It allows them to go much more successfully. It allows us to get a lot more reps of training in, and it allows us to build towards having perfect recall. Now, the mistake that so many people make with this is that the only time that your dog comes into your personal space, bad things happen because they've ignored recall, they've ignored recall, they've ignored recall. You've eventually got them, and then you clip a lead on and you walk off huffing and puffing because you're angry at them and frustrated. So actually, you're not awesome to them. Being in your personal space isn't awesome to your dog. It's actually a problem to be in your personal space. Being in your personal space becomes associated with negativity, with anger, with frustration, with bad things. And yes, there are going to be situations and times where we need to challenge our dogs and help them understand that they've made mistakes. I'm not saying that we avoid that, but what I'm saying is that we make the opportunity of any time they make the decision of coming back to us, something good happens. And again, whether it's belly rubs, whether it's a treat, whether it's just saying good boy or good girl, that should be a habit that you're doing with your dog every single day forever. Whether it's a rescue dog or whether it's your new puppy, make sure that you equal awesome always. So you might be wondering why on earth I'm indoors in my training facility with a dog on a placeboard, on a lead, when we're talking about recall. Well, that's because a really important piece to the recall puzzle is something that I call impulse control. And what impulse control should look like is exactly this, is that you put your dog in situations where they want to do one thing, but you want them to do something else, and they have to control the impulse of doing the thing they want to do to remain focused on doing the thing that you want them to do instead. Now, for me, one of the best ways that you can go about teaching impulse control is exactly this. It's with place training. With place training, you create this really nice ability to send your dog somewhere where you then want them to stay no matter what's going on around them. Now, my mate Bruno here is with me as part of my sanctuary project. He's with me for 4 weeks, going through a full training and behavior modification program before we then help him find his forever home and manage that transition. Now, Bruno has been in a rescue for years, and he's been in and out of, I believe, 4 different homes and sent back to the rescue for a lot of behaviors that stem to his lack of impulse control. Things like excessive jumping, excessive pulling, recall issues, and then getting over aroused and chewing and biting at people's clothes. To help me help him get better, we're spending a lot of time working on his impulse control, which is putting him in situations where he wants to do one thing, but I'm teaching him that he has to stay calm, relaxed, and focused on the thing that I need from him instead, which is exactly what we're doing right now. The last thing he wants to do as a very, very drivey, high energy staffy is stay sat calmly on a placeboard while I'm waffling to a camera. He's going to want to come to me, he's going to want to engage with me, he's going to want to go and sniff and do other things. But if he can control his impulses here, and we teach him that skill can then go anywhere that we want to, including recall, when he's in a situation where he knows I want him to come back to me, yet he wants to go and sniff over there or chase that squirrel or go and find that bird or run towards that other dog, and he's going to have to control those impulses and listen to me instead. So if you want to have a dog that has amazing recall, one of the things that you need them to have first and foremost is amazing impulse control. So don't ever skip that step if you want perfect recall with your dog. Now, before we look at some of the other really important things to think about when it comes to recall, remember, having your dog be able to come out in the great outdoors just like this and be off lead and completely safe to be around is a joyful experience with your dog. And it's an experience that I would love every owner of every dog to be able to have, and it absolutely is possible. Now, if you want to learn more about the things we're discussing in this video, I created my full recall reset course. And the great thing is that that course is included completely free in my Perfect Canine Companion course. And if you're interested in learning more about that Perfect Canine Companion course that not just has my recall course, but also has my reactivity course, my no more pulling course, my crate training course, my daily obedience course, my daily drills course, Leadership is Love course to help you become the high level leader that your dog needs you to be so that you can come out into the great outdoors like this and enjoy time with your dog safely and under control, then the link is in the description to that down below. And to thank you for supporting the channel here, I've given a special discount to all of my YouTube viewers. And the amazing thing is that my academy, my courses, the Perfect Canine Companion course, is how I fund my sanctuary. So the dogs that we work with at my sanctuary, completely free of charge, we're able to do so because of you guys supporting my online academy. So if you want to learn more, there'll be a link in the description box below. But let's get to the next thing that you need to be thinking about when it comes to having perfect recall with your dog. Now, the next tip for recall, and it's one of my games that's included in my recall course, But it's all about tapping into what your dog loves. Think about those scales of motivation and how you want to be as motivating to your dog as possible. So think about what motivates your dog more than anything else, and can we utilize that to be able to help our scales of motivation? Now, my mate here, Uncle Sully, loves absolutely nothing more than retrieving things. So one of my games that we play in my recall course is my recall and retrieve game. So I'm just going to wait until I get a little bit of space from him. But because of the I equal awesome game that I always play with him, he's sometimes kind of difficult to create a little bit of space. If I just kind of ignore him for long enough, hopefully he'll wander off. If he doesn't, there's a couple of tricks I can do to get that space. But what we're going to do is play this recall and release game that A, taps into what he loves more than anything. So he gets the thing that he loves more than anything after complying with a recall command. But also it teaches him that just because I've asked you to come back to me doesn't mean that I'm about to clip your lead on and take you away from the fun. I'm actually going to allow more fun to occur because you've recalled me, which again can elevate the power of your recall. So when you need it in an emergency situation, it's got the most likelihood of working when you need it to. So he's gone over there, my mate has. So I'm going to do an example here. So he recalls in, and I immediately release him for a retrieve. So that has taught him that recalling to me is a really fun thing because it allowed you to do the thing that you love more than anything else in life. Heel. Sit. Sit. Lazy boy. Good hold. Drop. Good boy. Break. And I can't help but layer in a little bit of a fancy formal retrieving into that work as well. But in that short repetition, I've just made recall one of the best things in his life, because by recalling to me, it allowed him to do the thing he loves more than anything in life, which is the retrieval. But I also taught, just because I've asked you to come to me doesn't mean that all the fun's about to stop. You're having a bit of fun over there sniffing in the hedge, but by coming to me, it unlocked even more fun and you got to release for more fun. So again, we don't want recall to be this thing that's like, oh, fun's over and the dog comes trotting back maybe. We want him to come back with passion and fire. So I'm going to create a little bit of space, show you what that looks like one more time. Good boy. So a recall rep followed immediately by a retrieval that I've let him just go for. Full fun retrieval. Get him to come back with it. Oh, he's a good lad. And we won't do a formal retrieve this time. Just a good old fashioned, oh, good boy. Thanks, mate. Good boy. And that's one of the many games that I teach in my recall course to make the scale of motivation be as powerful in your favor as possible. Now, you might have gathered by now, guys, that when it comes to recall, it's not a one size fits all. Frankly, in all of dog training, it's not one size fits all, but with recall in particular is probably where you see that most. Depending on what the dog's breed is, what their drives are, what their motivational states are, what their emotional states are, what their arousal levels are, what the relationship they have with their owner is. All of these things are variables that make recall training easier or harder. The principle remains virtually the same, no matter what dog you have, no matter what those variables are, but the length of time that you'll have to spend in each stage will be different. The levels that are required are going to be different. The realistic expectation of success is going to be different. And one thing that I want to remind you of is just because you go out and see a dog off lead with perfect recall doesn't necessarily mean that that's a better dog than your dog. Doesn't necessarily mean that that owner is a better owner than you are. It might just be a reflection of those different variables. And it is important for you to be able to be happy, content, and enjoying your dog, that you understand those realistic expectations for you and for your dog. And what's great about recall is that just because your dog doesn't have off-lead freedom now, or potentially for a long period of time, That's okay. That doesn't mean that your dog's having a worse quality of life. I personally, even though my dogs have perfect recall, never let my dogs off lead in a public place, because I've seen what goes wrong, not with my dogs, but what happens when other people's dogs with no control come over and meet, and it can be an absolute disaster. And my dogs still live an amazing life. And one of the things that I recommend for people is to book training fields. They're not that much money. You can book them once a week for a small amount, give your dog loads of off-lead time, have a bunch of freedom, and then work on their exercise through your walk, through structured play in the garden. Loose lead walking done properly is incredibly mentally and physically tiring for your dog, and done once or twice a day with some breaks in your garden as well, a little bit of training, a little bit of mental stimulation, a little bit of play is more than enough to have a happy, content dog. Now, that doesn't mean that you justify their bad behavior, and it doesn't mean, and I want you to take this very, very seriously, that you use that for an excuse to not train your dog. You absolutely should, but I don't want people who are putting all the work in with training thinking worse about themselves, when in reality it's just that they've got a really high drive dog that is very, very independent by nature and has an incredible hunting and scent drive. That is more likely going to be why that dog's recall isn't as good as a dog that has no hunting drive, has no scent drive, is super relaxed, and is a Velcro dog to its owners. That's really important for your success, and more importantly, your happiness with your dog. Now, everybody wants their recall to look like this, and if you follow some of those tips, you'll absolutely be able to have your recall be as sharp as that, no matter where you want to bring your dog out to. So remember, if you want more information, if you want to go deeper, check out my Perfect Canine Companion course that includes my Recall Reset course. There'll be a link in the description box below. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe if you're new here, because I can't wait to see you on the next video.